So today is June 14. Let's get started. A year after Galwan clash, China strengthening pace along the LAC. PLA has routed troops, built fresh infrastructure and hospital in that area. In case you don't know, then PLA is Chinese People Liberation Army, and LAC is line of action along the Pangong Lake. Like last year, we had a lot of uh, issues there. In case you know, lots of casualties from our side and from their side as well. Fight against authoritarianism, extremism, says PM at G7 meet. Okay. India national ally of grouping, says Modi at special session on open societies. G7 to donate 1 billion vaccine doses to developing nation. Yeah, we already covered that in the last video. G7 to build back better world alternative infrastructure initiative to counter China's BRI. It reaffirms tax deal for global minimum corporate tax rate. It calls for inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. PM calls on tech companies and social media platforms to ensure a safe cyber environment for all. And it's a good thing that focus is being shifted on that because social media has become a very powerful tool. Hyderabad toll shows massive underground. Okay, which is a problem, I suppose, because Delhi lifts more curbs. It reached to open with 50% capacity. Okay. The lingering wave. Number of infected patients has come down, but not quite those in ICU and on ventilators. Doctors cite overwhelming number of moderate and severe patients during the relatively short second wave as reasons for continuing occupancy of ICUs. Okay. Many have yet to recover from post-COVID infections. Some who have been tested negative continue to be hospitalized as they have yet to recover from lung condition caused by it. Patients who have turned negative are shifted to the non-COVID ICU. These patients are either requiring ventilator support or high oxygen support. Okay. It is difficult to predict their recovery pattern and their outcome at this point. He says, adding that the number of moderate to severe COVID patients who came to the hospital was overwhelming during the second wave, and we all saw that. So let's look at the global pattern. What happens after peak surge is that a lot of patients with severe lung damage stay on ventilator for a long time, irrespective of the wave. It is true across the world. When number step, most of the people in hospital will be in ICUs. People going to the ventilator will stay on the ventilator for 4 to 6 weeks. This is why currently more than one third of the total patients are in ICU with. Okay. So this is what the global pattern is all about. Okay. Capital sees 255 fresh cases with 23 deaths. The number has came down, but still we can see that the people, we can see that the people are still dying even after the vaccine is out, and so people should try to get vaccinated as soon as they can, and take precautions. That's the only way to tackle the COVID. Okay. Over 50 shanties of Rohingya refugees gutted in city blaze. Oh, no injuries. It seems like a deliberate attack, like elderly woman found murdered in Burarai. Entry to house was friendly. Okay, let's. Monsoon expected in next 48 hours, says MET. The Meteor Department Sunday evening said conditions are favorable for the advancement of southwest monsoon to Delhi during the next 48 hours. Okay, that's good. Business of business education to comply with student need in the wake of pandemic and beyond. Gmat has introduced tweaks and enhancement to its Gmat exam. Distiller. With this in mind, GMAC moved to holding its exam online to make it more competitive and on a par with the test center GMAT exam. We announced an enhancement to the GMAT online exam, like including the analytic writing assessment section and the ability to preview unofficial test scores immediately. Additionally, an extended breaks and the convenience to select the order in which the sections of the exam are attempted. Okay, apart from the exam, the organization also conducts surveys on what corporate look for in their recruiters and on student concern, aspirations, goal, and what they seek in their dream B school. Interesting. So they have shifted online. That's what the change in the pattern is. Unlocking the capital. After nearly 2 months of complete lockdown, the city is incrementally rolling up the shutters with cases coming down. The government has flicked the restart switch. Over the past 2 weeks, it has allowed several activities to resume. With Sunday's announcement, the city is inching closer towards normal times. It feels so good to read like normal times. Okay. Court rejects plea of overweight applicant. Petitioner did not meet IAF fitness criteria for AMN. The Delhi High Court has rejected the appeal of a man seeking appointment as AMN in Indian Air Force, challenging the medical board's decision declaring him unfit for service on three grounds: being overweight, unable to squat, and suffering from hyperbilirubinemia. What is this? Let's see what this. So condition in which there is too much bilirubin in your baby's blood. Okay. The High Court took into account the response of the government that the ideal weight prescribed in the manual of medical examination and medical boards of the height of the patient Amit Kumar of 170 cm 19 years was 63 kg with a margin of 6.3 kgs. Okay, let's move. Demand Stokes illegal rosewood felling. Okay, proven killer into the lucrative black market. Yeah, like we have seen it from time to time that like they deal with illegal supply of rosewood. Probe reveals mass trafficking of women from Bangladesh. Oh, the word is hardly wild for cyber resilience, defending civilians, targets, and infrastructure against rising cyber attacks will stretch the capability of government. A string of high profile cyber attacks in recent months has exposed vulnerabilities in the critical infrastructure of even advanced nations. This has reinforced the need for improved defenses against actual and potential cyber attacks by all countries across continents. America under attack. Several high-profile cyber attacks were reported from United States during the past several months. Towards the end of 2020, for instance, a major cyber attack headlined SolarWinds and believed to have been sponsored from Russia had rocked the US. So yeah, even I heard about it, and lots and lots of computers who were running on that, who were running that software were affected, and even there was some issue with the power grids all across the US, I guess, because of that. It involved data breaches across several wings of the US government, including defense, energy, and state. Before the US could even recover from this breach, thousands of US organizations were hacked in early 2021 in an unusually aggressive cyber attack by a Chinese group, Half Nuem, which had exploited serious flaws in Microsoft software, thus gaining remote control over affected systems. In quick succession thereafter, the US has witnessed three major attacks: an audacious ransomware attack by Russia, East Europe-based cyber criminals styled dark side on colonial pipeline. Yeah, compelling the company to temporarily shut down operations. The siege was lifted for after Colonial Pipeline paid out several million dollars as ransom to unlock its computer and release its file. The reports of the ransom being received in bitcoins, which was later saved by the US government. Another Russia-backed group, Nobilium, next launched a phishing attack on 300 email account 3000 targeting US aid and several other organizations. Early this month, JBS SA and the US subsidiary of a Brazilian meat processing company was the target of a ransomware attack. The company also paid a ransom in millions, not civilian target. These attacks were all primarily on civilian targets, though each one was of critical importance. Obviously, cyber, which is officially referred to as fifth domain dimension of warfare, is now largely being employed against civilian targets, bringing the war into our homes. Okay, defending civilian targets and more so critical infrastructure against cyber attacks such as ransomware and phishing, including spear phishing, apart from unknown zero-day software, is almost certain to stretch the capability and resources of government across the globe. Zeroing in on healthcare. What is especially worrisome at this time when a pandemic is raging is the number of cyber attacks on healthcare systems. With data becoming a vital element in today's world, personal information has become a vital commodity. One of more vulnerable areas where data tends to be linked to a specific individual is in healthcare. And this is the problem actually, because if this gets out, then people know how they can exploit you. The bad news is that cyber landscape is poised to undergo more fundamental changes. Motivation for cyber attacks vary for some nation state. The motivation is geopolitical transformation. For cyber criminal, it is increased profit. For terror groups, the motivation remains much the same, but the risk factor may be lower. However, it is insider's threat due to discontent with the management or its personal reasons that could well become an omnipotent reality. Need for data protection preparation is needed. Yes, a lot of work needs to be done actually. China cooperation in identifying the source of coronavirus is vital. Over 17 months after WHO first reported a cluster of cases of pneumonia of unknown case in Wuhan, scientists are yet to determine with this certainty how the SARS-CoV-2 virus emerged. Much likely other viruses, this virus could have a natural origin or somewhat escaped from coronavirus research lab in Wuhan, the epicenter of COVID-19 outbreak. If the virus had been bioengineered, the genome sequence would carry telltale signs, but scientists have not found any signature of genetic manipulation. While a particular site on the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein that allows the virus to infect the cells have been cited as evidence of bioengineering, the fact is that it is not unique to COVID. A combination of nucleotides in the furin cleavage site that encode for a particular amino acid. Another feature that is forwarded as supporting laboratory manipulation too has been shown to be not unique. For instance, the nucleotide combination encoding for the amino acid represented other sites of SARS-CoV-2 virus and in the 2003 SARS virus. The possibility of SARS-CoV-2 evolving via cell culture appears bleak as scientists have found the virus losing features key to transmission and virulence under cultured using new methods. Reports of three Wuhan lab research falling ill in November 2019 by itself does not prove a lab leak hypothesis. There is no evidence that they were infected with SARS-CoV-2, and even if they were, it is necessary to prove that it happened from inside the lab. So still, some are defending that China has a very important role to play for not generating for leaking the virus, and some are still defending it, some are still blaming it. So let's see how this turns out. They need certainty. A near-term revival in consumption-led demand appears bleak now. The latest factory output data released by the National Statistical Office is yet another sign of the rocky start that the economy is having in the new fiscal year. Apple's index of industrial production estimates show all the sectoral constituents of the index. Mining, manufacturing, and electricity suffered reverses as output slid below the preceding month's level, with the second wave of COVID-19 increasing. So basically, they are talking about that the problem is that a consumer non-durable comprising household essential witnessed an almost 11% contraction from March, testifying to the demand destruction that has accompanied the second wave. Okay. So I mean, the demands are not there, so the sectors are really falling short. Higher education in Kerala needs a new chapter. There are many tasks that the LDF government must take note of on its focus to transform the state into a knowledge society. The recent election manifesto of the LDF government of Kerala opens with the assertion we are entering a new phase in rebuilding Kerala and promises to usher in a sustainable development model. Okay, expansion of colleges, relevance and quality to the linear reproduction of national traditional courses in the university raises the foundational question of relevance and quality. Surprisingly, no political party uh, posited the issue as important. No one probably wants Kerala among the top 100 universities of the world or entertain such high hopes. Indeed, higher education has an important instrument and intrinsic role to play, equipped with no life skills or employability capabilities. The rapid progression of higher education can only swell the ranks of the unemployed. The present government has announced a target to double the gross enrollment ratio from 37 to 75 in the next 5 years. It's a good thing. I'm very happy to see this, honestly, because we don't expect this from like anybody, to be honest, to focus that much, like any state party, honestly, to invest that much resources. Women's unemployment rate, issues of commercialization. Three, the growing commercialization of education in Kerala has deeply eroded the state's egalitarian narrative of the past and weakened the scope for enhancing quality of opportunity. So the thing is that they are talking about that there are skills and all, but it's not getting commercialized the way it should be. Planning for a biosecure future, COVID-19 has further highlighted the biosecurity concerns of a synthetic biology. The new organism, biological parts and devices can be created, or that existing nature life forms can be redesigned. Should ideally be the subject matter for scientists to concern themselves with, or for the ethicists to debate. But today there is a growing realization that the exponential technologies have had to unfold national and global security inflation. In 2014, for instance, the US Department of Defense categorized synthetic biology as one of the six disruptive basic research areas, even though linkage between national security and synthetic biology is yet to become an agenda item in mainstream national security debates. What if such attacks are contemplated and carried out by state actors against adversaries? How easy would it be to pin responsibility on a specific actor if the incubation period is high and the pathogen can be modified to hide its origin? Unlike the nuclear domain, the fields of biology and synthetic biology are not regulated internationally despite growing military interest in synthetic biology application and their potential misuse. This is quite true. I don't know why world leaders are not focusing on it because there are talks about war and blah blah blah. But this is the most important. Like this is the weapon which can change the course of the world. Actually, if like any country decides to put its resources in it and utilize it for its benefit. The government in November 2021 BWWC review conference must take stock of the advances in the field, addresses the thinning line between biotechnology and bioweapon research, and consider international measures for monitoring and verification. India uniquely unprepared. India is yet a uniquely disadvantaged position compared to the more developed countries in the area, given poor disease surveillance, insufficient coordination among various government departments dealing with biosecurity issues, and the pathetic state of the healthcare system. Censorship by noise. The act of delegitimizing professional journalism undermines news media's status as the fourth state, the vulnerability of journalism. It is disheartening to record that this year both the Reuters Memorial Lecture and the Pulitzer Prize have become veritable documents of the vulnerability of journalism. In April 21, Nadja Trost wrote a long form report in the California Sunday magazine titled "When Can We Really Rest?" It was on migrants crossing the Colombian Panama border, which is said to be one of the US most dangerous journeys in the world. To reach US on June 11, 2021, Miss Jost, a freelance writer, was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for winning writing for her article, which the Pulitzer Committee described as a brave and gripping account of global migration that documents a group's journey on foot through the Darien Gap, one of the most dangerous migrant routes in the world. Let's have a look. Let's see what they're talking about. I'm sorry if there is some issue with my voice. Oh, okay, this is scary. The tragedy is that the California Sunday magazine no longer exists. Last June stopped its print edition, and as the COVID-19 pandemic continued to take its toll, the magazine stopped publishing online and posting on social media at the end of September. Christine here of Poitner pointed out the historic significance of this development. She wrote, at least in the last 10 years, this is the first example we can find a publication closing before it won a Pulitzer. She also pointed out that in the US during the pandemic, more than 75 newsrooms closed, including some that were more than 100 years old. This pandemic induced bloodbath in journalism is evident in India too. If the Pulitzer Prize has gone to different publication that was dedicated to long form journalism, the Reuters Memorial Lecture Part 1 out the multiple pressure faced by journalists in pursuing their vocation in a free, independent manner, fudging data. The act of delegitimizing. This is true in India too. We have seen gross underreporting of the rate COVID-19 infections and mortality. We have seen numbers including on the availability of vaccine being first. We are an unenviable position where the union government has issued a directive asking the state not to divulge the details about the vaccine stock in hand as these details are sensitive information. Wow. Biden's mentioned vision dividing the world into democratic and autocratic camps is unrealistic. The G7 an expanded coalition to make sure that messaging about team building by democracies went across the host of the Cornwall summit. The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson invited four other democracies as guest participants: Australia, India, South Korea, and South Africa. The combination of G7 and the first three of these invites has drawn attention to an expanded D10 coalition of democracies. Mr. Biden's coordinator for the Indo-Pacific, Kurt Campbell, promotes D10 as a necessary instrument to bridge European and regional approaches to Chinese challenges. Since Japan is the only democracy from Asia within the G7, forging a D10 with Australia, India, and South Korea could corral the US, European, and Indo Pacific allies to present a transcontinental counterweight to China. That is good, and the interdependent links. But what is different with today's new Cold War is that the power is more diffuse around the world, and economic interdependence constitutes a neat division of the world into black and white. For example, despite being a US ally and a democracy, South Korea is a wary of joining a formal return or Quad Plus alliance because its economy is interwoven with that of China. India, which has been moving the Europeans to bring their economy military hub to the Indo-Pacific, would be happy to see a combined trans-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific formation like D10 that could counterbalance Chinese hegemony. Okay, but it cannot afford to alienate friendly, undemocratic powers like Vietnam, Iran, or Russia, all of them which are vectors for India's ambition of becoming a leading power in the world. And for that matter, the Americans and Europeans are themselves not undiluted upholders of democracy. Okay, let's move. Decision of class 12 marks to be put off, likely to be recommended using class 10 and 11 final score. Class 12 internal say CBC panel member. Okay, so it's a good news for students. Mystery shrouds probe into actor Sushant's death. Touched by love from Arunachal YouTuber. He said, I think, something about the minister of Arunachal Pradesh that he doesn't look Indian. Center card militancy in GNK. Union Minister J. Krishna Reddy lays foundation stone of a temple in Jammu. Okay, that is good, I guess. No greater risk to children from anticipated third wave. Mortality rate among hospital COVID-19 patient below 10 was 2.4. Only 3.5% of population is fully vaccinated so far. Wow, how many in Uttar Pradesh? That's what I want to see, but I don't think it's mentioned. Tree of coffee family discovered in Andaman Nicobar. Okay, foreign. Israel coalition set to end Netanyahu era. Nafati Bennett will take over Prime Minister after Knesset vote to install the new government. G7 agrees to boost climate finance, calls on others to join. Pledges of cash promises like specifies, say green groups. Rare earth metal at the heart of China US library can extradite other criminals to US only on reciprocal basis. Biden's to raise the issue of cyberattacks and meet with Putin. Britain calls Macron's views of Northern Ireland offensive. A rare subtlety for Rohingya. Simple equity funds are better option for first-time investors. Okay. To claim or not to claim, motor third-party liability insurance is a cover under which insured does not get to make a claim, but it's covered by for any claims others may make on him. Okay, so this is a good claim, honestly. Okay, let's roll. New Zealand, Sasha England. Okay, so it's for a series. Enhancement, cricket, cinema, music, and business on 64 squares. Okay, I guess this is all for today. Okay, I hope you all watched till the end and thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. And yeah, share with your friends who might need this. Everyone could use good morning news in the like, like good morning news. So yeah, thank you.